You don't belong here. Get out!
Oh my God! Did you see that? He pushed her.
You just pushed my wife into the pool. Marcus's voice thundered across the glittering ballroom. The billionaire's smirk didn't fade. Maybe she should learn where she belongs, gasps echoed. The cameras stopped flashing. No one knew yet. That single shove just cost him $1 billion. The gala shimmered like a dream painted in gold. Chandeliers hung low. Violins played softly, and the smell of money filled the air. Every laugh was rehearsed. Every handshake. Strategic. This was the Ann Foundation Charity Gala, a night for the elite to show generosity in public and arrogance in private. And at the heart of it all was Richard Haines, a billionaire who believed kindness was a weakness and power was his birthright. But tonight wasn't his night. Tonight, he was about to meet a man who'd spent a lifetime earning everything Haines took for granted. Marcus Grant, the founder and CEO of NovaTech Industries, had built an empire of innovation from a garage and a dream. He was quiet, steady, and calculating, the kind of man who didn't need to raise his voice to command a room. Beside him was his wife, Amara, a woman with the grace of a queen and the humility of someone who still remembered every storm she'd survived. Together, they were there to finalize a $1 billion clean energy partnership that could change the world. But Haines saw something else. Two people who didn't fit his definition of belonging, and his pride would soon become his downfall. When Marcus and Amara entered the ballroom, all eyes turned, not because of what they wore, but because of who they were. Power wrapped in silence, dignity wrapped in calm, and approached with a grin too wide to be sincere. "Ah, Mr. Grant," he said loudly, making sure the crowd could hear, "and this must be your assistant?" Marcus's expression didn't change, but Amara's eyes flickered, not with anger, but quiet strength. "I'm his wife," she said, her voice steady, and chuckled, tapping his glass. "Of course, my mistake. You know, it's rare to see a man in your position with such unique taste." The guest laughed nervously. Marcus's jaw tightened, but before he could speak, Amara smiled, calm, unbroken. "Well, Mr. Haines," she said softly, "real men know how to choose women of substance, not status." The laughter stopped. Haines's smile vanished. He excused himself with a forced grin. But something dark sparked in his eyes, the kind of spark that burns bridges without even realizing it. Marcus Grant was not born into luxury, was raised in a small house where the power went out. More often than it stayed on. His mother worked 3 jobs. His father died when he was 15. He built NovaTech from the ground up, not with investors or privilege, but with hunger. He believed success was not about who shouted the loudest, but who refused to give up when no one was listening. He faced racism, rejection, and boardroom condescension. But he never fought with anger. He fought with results. And tonight, he stood in that ballroom not as a guest, but as a man who belonged. Anne, however, would soon remind him why grace is a weapon that cuts deeper than arrogance ever could. Later that evening, Amara stepped out onto the terrace near the pool, admiring the lights reflecting off the water. She had always loved moments like this. Quiet pauses and chaos, but peace never lasts long around pride. Anne appeared behind her, glass of champagne in hand. "You know," he said, his voice slurred with ego, "you're beautiful. You'd fit better serving the drinks than sipping them." Amara turned, her face still calm. "You should be careful with your words, Mr. An," he grinned. "Or what? You'll tell your husband?" "The man who works for me." Amara's eyes didn't flinch. "He doesn't work for you. He built the company you're begging to partner with." The smirk dropped, and in that single moment, that single flicker of wounded pride, Anne did the unthinkable. He reached out and shoved her. The sound of splashing, water shattered the air. Gasps spread like wildfire. Amara's surface, gasping, the heavy gown clinging to her frame. Marcus was there in seconds, his face unreadable, his hands pulling her out of the water. The crowd froze. waiting for him to explode, but he didn't. He just looked at N, calm, deadly, dignified, and in that silence, everyone knew something irreversible had just happened. An laughed nervously. Come on, Marcus, she's fine. Just a joke. Don't get emotional. Marcus's eyes were cold. He placed his jacket over Amara's shoulders. Enjoy your evening? Mr. N, he said quietly. Then, leaning in just enough for only Ann to hear. You've just drowned your career. He took his wife's hand, and together they walked out, soaked, silent, unbroken. By morning, the headlines told a different story. NovaTech cancels $1 billion. Deal with N Industries. The stock market reacted like thunder. N Industries plummeted. Investors pulled out. Every news outlet replayed the same viral video from the gala. The shove, the splash, the stunned silence. The world didn't see power in anymore. They saw cruelty. He called Marcus dozens of times. When Marcus finally answered, An was desperate. Marcus, you can't do this. This was just a misunderstanding. You're letting emotions ruin everything. Marcus's voice was calm. I don't let emotions ruin anything. I let truth fix everything. Please, N pleaded. We can fix this. Money, Marcus interrupted. You can buy everything, Richard. Except respect. Then he hung up. Asterisk within a month. Haines' company was in ruins. Lawsuits followed. Sponsors withdrew, and his so-called friends vanished. The man who once mocked others from marble floors now sat alone in a silent mansion. He'd spent years building an empire out of pride and lost it all in one night to the man he thought he could humiliate. A year later, Marcus and Amara hosted their own gala, one focused on education and equality. The event raised millions for schools in underprivileged communities. During his speech, Marcus said, power doesn't come from money. It comes from how you treat people when you think no one's watching. The room erupted in applause. Amara smiled, standing beside him, radiant in confidence and somewhere in the shadows of his empty estate. Richard Haines watched that speech on TV, a broken man who finally understood what real wealth looked like. Months later, An sent a handwritten letter to Marcus. I've lost everything. You were right. Respect lasts longer than wealth. I hope someday I earn back what I threw away. Marcus placed the letter down and said softly, he finally learned what it means to be rich. Amara smiled and he learned. If from the man he tried to break. He pushed her to humiliate her. But what he really did was reveal himself, because no fortune survives without integrity, and no amount of money can drown a soul built on dignity. If this story moved you, tell us where you're watching from. And if you believe respect is worth more than riches, share this story. Subscribe for more cinematic tales that remind us real power doesn't shout. It simply stands, calm, unshaken, and unforgettable.